Hello everyone, it's Silver here, and today I want to talk about weapon viability. So ever since the game came out, there's always been a lot of discussion about what weapons are viable and which are unviable, depending on mode and map and all that sort. And people often consider weapons that are fast killing, have good range, and have good kits to be viable. So things like the 10 attack and the 52 gal and the E-liter have been pretty much the most common viable weapons. And they weren't exactly, like, at one point, even chargers were considered unviable, but as people learned to use them, they slowly became more and more common. And that's something that I feel like more people should realize. The chargers were considered unviable at one point, and then people, once they learned how to use it, it suddenly became viable. So if you're out there thinking that a weapon is unviable, it's probably because you haven't put enough time into it. There's a lot of weapons out there in the game that can be good, but people haven't put time into using them or learning how to use them, how to effectively, get them involved. So weapons that are like pretty much commonly considered to be unviable, such as like the arrow sprays or the H3 nozzle noses. Those weapons can be useful, but not necessarily in the way that people would commonly use them, I guess. So, like, for example, the arrow spray, not the best at killing, it takes 5 shots. So, but when people bring up the arrow spray, they always mention that it's good at turfing. Well, how about using the arrow spray to just turf? Don't kill with it. Now that may seem kind of weird, where I'm saying like don't use a weapon to kill, especially because like a lot of people just feel like the game has more emphasis on killing. So when it comes to stuff like that, it's like, how about using an arrow spray for maintaining and getting control, and then if it gets to like a situation where it has to fight, like you could stand and fight, or you could dip, like just run away. So like use a bunch of swim speed on it or something. And then weapons like the H3 has more range than the 96, and the 96 was once considered very good. So, and its kits are pretty decent. Like, I guess, well, maybe the H3D is kind of weird. But, the vanilla H3 has suction bomb, so it can fight splash walls. It has enough range to outrange a 96 and a 52, so the most common wall users. And it has an echo, which is pretty much good for any mode. The H3D has point sensor, which can be used to find anybody, I guess. And then Inksuka, which is good, despite the fact the weapon already has a lot of range. And now the Cherry H3 is out, which gives it a splash wall and bubbler. The problem with the H3 is it requires you to have very good aiming, as when you fire it, it shoots the 3 blobs, and all 3 have to hit to kill. Unless you're using a certain amount of damage up. With like 3 mains of damage up, you can make 2 blobs do 98 damage, I think it was. So you can potentially kill only 2 blobs of ink. But most people would rather use something that's automatic rather than semi-automatic. But basically what I'm trying to hammer home here is, if you think a weapon is considered unviable, then you haven't experimented enough with the weapon. I'm a strong believer that anything in this game can be viable, it just requires a lot of work. So if you're wondering, like, I see it a lot, like if you want to ask someone if a weapon is viable, how about not so much worrying about their opinion, but trying to form your own from you playing it and you messing with like team comps and stuff. Every weapon in this game has its weaknesses and strengths and such, and it is a team game. When people talk about viability, they usually assume it's a 1v1 situation, but that's not always the case. It's a 4v4 game, so you're not always going to be put in a 1v1 situation. So try to work with your team and try to figure out the weaknesses the weapon has, and build a team comp around the weaknesses so you can promote the strengths in the weapon and get around the weaknesses. So next time you think about something being unviable, maybe you should take a look into trying a way to make it more useful. So I hope that someone out there decides that they want to think about using the arrow spray a bit more, maybe not so much for killing, or people look into using the H3 or some other weapons that you've been like wanting to use but have been considering them to not be very good. So I hope everyone reconsiders their thoughts on weapon viability, and I hope everyone enjoyed, and I will see you all later.